You have been lied to, not by one person, not by one book, by a system that was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to keep you productive. And the scariest part? You followed every single rule. You went to school. You got the job. You opened the savings account. You did everything right. So why does it feel like you're running in place? Here's the question nobody's asking. What if the rules themselves are the problem? What if the advice your parents gave you, the advice your school gave you, the advice society gave you, was built for someone else's benefit? Right now, the top 1% of earners in the United States control more wealth than the entire middle class combined. That's not a conspiracy. That's the Federal Reserve's own data. And the gap isn't shrinking. It's accelerating. But here's what nobody tells you. The wealthy don't follow different rules. They follow different beliefs about money. And that difference is everything. Stay with this, because by the end, you're going to see money in a way you've never seen it before. Work hard, save money, and you'll be fine. Sounds logical. Your parents said it. Your teachers said it. Every bank commercial ever made said it. But here's the flaw. Saving money in a bank account earning 0.5% interest, while inflation runs at 3 to 4% per year, means you're losing money every single day you don't touch it. Let's do the math. You save $50,000. You feel good. You feel responsible. 10 years later, that $50,000 has the purchasing power of roughly $33,000. You didn't save money. You slowly gave it away to inflation. And this is where most people get stuck. They think saving is the goal. But saving is just the starting line. The wealthy don't save money. They deploy it. There's a massive difference between money sitting in an account and money working inside an asset. One bleeds. One compounds. The truth is, your savings account is not protecting you. It's giving you the illusion of safety while quietly eroding your future. And here's what makes it worse. The bank takes your $50,000, pays you 0.5%, then lends it out at 7, 8, 10%. They are building wealth with your money, while you collect almost nothing. You're not a saver. You're a lender, a very cheap one. Now think about what happens if you flip that. Instead of lending your money to a bank for almost nothing, you put that same $50,000 into a low-cost index fund, averaging 8% annually. In 10 years, that $50,000 becomes $107,000. In 20 years, $233,000. Same money, different decision, completely different outcome. This is where most people fail. They mistake familiarity for safety. The savings account feels safe because it's what they know. But the real risk is doing nothing. Here is another lie. Your house is your biggest investment. This one might be the most dangerous belief in middle-class America. You're probably wondering, how can owning a home be wrong? Let's be honest. Homeownership is not bad. But calling your home an investment, that's where the math breaks down. Here's what actually happens when you buy a $300,000 home. With a 30-year mortgage at 6% interest, you will pay over $640,000 total. That's more than double what the house is worth today. Now, add property taxes, add insurance, add maintenance, add HOA fees if you have them. The average American spends between 2 and 4% of their home's value every single year just maintaining it. On a $300,000 home, that's between $6,000 and $12,000 a year. Gone. This is the part people overlook. Your home doesn't generate income. It doesn't produce cash flow. It doesn't pay you dividends. It costs you money every single month. By that definition, your primary residence is a liability. Now compare that to a rental property, or an index fund, or a business. Those generate income while you sleep. Your home generates a mortgage payment. And here's the breakthrough. The wealthy build equity in assets that pay them. The middle class builds equity in assets that cost them. Here's a real comparison. Two people both have $300,000 in equity. Person A has it locked in their primary home. It sits there. It costs them $12,000 a year to maintain. It generates zero income. Person B invested that same $300,000 across 3 rental properties. Each one generates $800 a month in cash flow after expenses. That's $28,800 a year. Passive. Same net worth on paper. Completely different financial reality. One person is funding a lifestyle, the other is building one. The truth is, the home you live in can feel like an achievement. And emotionally, it is. But financially, it's a decision you need to understand clearly before you call it your biggest investment. Here is another lie we have been told. A good education leads to financial security. The most expensive lie sold to an entire generation. Student loan debt in the United States just crossed $1.7 trillion. That's trillion. The average college graduate leaves school with over $37,000 in debt, and that number is rising every year. But the degree doesn't guarantee income anymore. You're probably wondering, doesn't education still pay off? In some fields, yes, but the data is brutal. Over 40% of recent college graduates are working jobs that don't require a degree at all, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So you borrow $37,000. Spend 4 years not building work experience. Graduate into a market that's indifferent to your diploma, and then spend the next decade paying it back. This is where most people fail. They optimize for credentials. The wealthy optimize for skills and ownership. Let's be clear. Nobody is saying education has no value. What they're saying is blind investment in credentials without a return strategy is not financial planning. It's hope. And hope is not a strategy. Here's what the data actually rewards. Skills that are rare and valuable. Ownership of something that produces income. The ability to solve expensive problems for other people. You could spend 4 years and $40,000 on a degree, or you could spend 2 years learning a high-income skill, build a client base, and be earning 6 figures before your classmates finish their first semester. This is not anti-education. This is anti-blind faith. The question is never, did you get a degree? The question is, what does your degree cost? And what does it actually produce? If the math works, go for it. If the math doesn't work, stop letting tradition make your financial decisions. Now, you might be feeling something right now. Frustration, maybe resistance, maybe a little defensive. That's completely normal, and it's actually part of the problem. The middle class has a deeply emotional relationship with money. Not strategic. Emotional. Money feels like security. Spending money feels like reward. Debt feels like shame. Investing feels like gambling. And those emotional responses, those are not accidental. They were conditioned into you. Think about it. When you were a kid, what did you see? Your parents checking prices at the grocery store. Stress around bill payments. The idea that wanting more was greedy. That money doesn't grow on trees. What most people miss is this. Your financial behavior as an adult was almost entirely set before you turned 12. Dr. Brad Klontz, a financial psychologist, calls these money scripts, the unconscious beliefs about money that drive every financial decision you make. The wealthy were taught different scripts. Not more money, different beliefs. Money is a tool. Debt can be leverage. The goal is ownership, not income. Those 3 sentences flip the entire game. And this is where everything changes. Because here's what the middle class was never taught. Your mindset about money determines your actions around money. Your actions determine your results. You can give 2 people the same salary. One will build wealth. One will be broke in 5 years. The difference is not discipline. The difference is belief. If you believe investing is gambling, you won't invest. If you believe debt is shameful, you'll never learn to use leverage. If you believe you need to earn more before you start, you'll be waiting forever. And the waiting is the most expensive decision of all. This is the one nobody talks about. The middle class chases income. The wealthy build wealth. These are completely different games. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you own. There are doctors making $500,000 a year who are one bad month away from financial collapse. And there are people making $60,000 a year who are quietly building generational wealth. The difference is not the salary. The difference is what they do with it. Let me show you the math. Person earns $100,000 a year. They spend $95,000. They save $5,000. In 20 years, they have maybe $100,000 if they're lucky. Person B earns $60,000 a year. They live on $45,000. They invest $15,000 per year into index funds, averaging 8% annual returns. In 20 years, Person B has over $686,000. Lower income, more wealth. How? Compound interest. The math is undeniable. Let's be clear. The single most powerful force in personal finance is not your salary. It's time in the market. And most people start too late because they're waiting to earn more before they start investing. That wait costs them everything. If you invest $300 a month starting at 25, at 8% returns, you'll have over $1 million by 65. If you wait until 35 to start the same plan, you end up with $430,000. That 10-year delay costs you $570,000. Not because you earned less, because you waited. But here is the trap that kills middle-class wealth. You get a raise. You upgrade your car. You get a promotion. You move into a bigger apartment. You feel successful, but your savings rate stays exactly the same. This is lifestyle inflation, and it's the silent killer of middle-class wealth. Economists call it hedonic adaptation, the human tendency to return to the same level of happiness, regardless of what you acquire. The luxury car feels incredible for 3 months. Then it's just your car. The bigger apartment feels like freedom for 90 days. Then it's just where you live. But the payment? That stays. Every month. For years. The truth is, every dollar you upgrade your lifestyle is a dollar that stops compounding. And the wealthy know this. That's not poverty. That's discipline. And here's the shift. The wealthy don't delay gratification forever. They just delay it long enough for their assets to pay for their lifestyle. That's the game, not sacrifice. Strategy. The middle class was taught that all debt is bad. Pay it off. Cut the cards. Live debt-free. Sounds logical. But here's the trap. There are 2 types of debt, and confusing them is costing you a fortune. Consumer debt and leverage. Consumer debt is borrowing to consume. Credit card balances. Car loans for depreciating vehicles. Buy now, pay later for things you don't need. That debt is a chain. It makes other people rich while making you poor. But leverage? Leverage is borrowing to acquire assets that generate returns greater than the cost of the debt itself. This is what the wealthy do. A real estate investor borrows $200,000 at 6% interest. That property generates $12,000 a year in rental income. After the mortgage, they net $3,000 to $4,000 a year. And the property appreciates. And the tenant is paying down the mortgage. That's not debt. That's a machine. What most people miss is this. The wealthy are not avoiding debt. They're using other people's money to build wealth, while the middle class uses their own money to fund other people's wealth. Every time you carry a credit card balance, you're paying 20 to 27% interest to a bank that's deploying your payments into assets. You're funding their wealth building, not yours. Let's make this even more concrete. The average American carries $6,500 in credit card debt at 24% interest. That's $1,560 a year in interest alone, just to stand still. Now imagine redirecting that $1,560 into an index fund every year for 20 years. At 8% returns, that's over $71,000. $71,000 from money that was previously disappearing into interest payments. This is where most people fail. They think they don't have money to invest. But the money is there. It's just going to the wrong place. Kill the consumer debt first, then redirect that cash flow. That's not a complex strategy. That's just math. Now let's talk about the real game nobody taught you. Let's zoom out. The entire financial system is built around one idea. Trade your time for money. You go to work. They pay you. You spend it. You go back to work. That cycle is called a job. And there's nothing wrong with a job. But here's the ceiling. You only have 24 hours in a day. Your income is capped by your time. The wealthy figured out a different equation. Instead of trading time for money, they build systems that generate money without their time. Real estate, dividend-paying stocks, businesses with employees, intellectual property. These are not get-rich-quick schemes. These are systems. And the goal is not to stop working. The goal is to reach a point where working becomes optional. Financial independence, not retirement. Freedom. And here's the breakthrough. Financial freedom is not about how much you earn. It's about the gap between what you earn and what your assets produce. The moment your assets produce more than your expenses, you are free. The number might be $4,000 a month for you. It might be $8,000. It might be $15,000, but it's a real number, and it's reachable if you stop playing the game you were given and start playing the game that actually works. Think about what passive income actually means in practice. It means you wake up on a Tuesday morning. You didn't go to work, but money still moved into your account. Rent was collected. Dividends were paid. Interest was earned. Your time and your income are no longer the same thing. That is the goal. Not a bigger salary, not a fancier title. The separation of your time from your income. And the only way to get there is to own things. Stocks, real estate, a business, something that works when you don't. The middle class rents their time. The wealthy own assets. That's the whole game, summarized in 2 sentences. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You'll watch people around you upgrade their cars and feel something different now. Not judgment, awareness. You'll understand what that car payment actually costs. Not just monthly, but in compounding wealth over 20 years. A $500 car payment invested instead, for 20 years at 8%, is $294,000. That's what the car actually costs, not the sticker price, the opportunity cost. And this is where everything changes. When you start seeing opportunity cost everywhere. Now, let's make this real. Step 1. Audit your money scripts. Write down every belief you have about money. Where did that belief come from? Is it serving you? Or is it someone else's fear living in your head? Step 2. Stop saving and start investing. Keep 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash. Everything above that should be working. Index funds. Real estate. Something that beats inflation. Step 3. Kill consumer debt. High-interest debt is the single biggest barrier between you and wealth. Pay it off aggressively. Then redirect every dollar that was going to debt into assets. Step 4. Protect your savings rate at every income level. When your income goes up, resist the upgrade. Let the gap between income and spending become your wealth engine. Step 5. Start now. Not when you have more money. Not when you're more ready. Now, because time is the one resource you cannot buy back. You can make more money. You can find a better job. You can cut expenses. But you cannot get back the years you spent waiting. Every year you delay is a year of compounding you will never recover. Think about someone who starts investing. Just $500 a month at age 22. By the time they're 55, at 8% average returns, they have over $1 million without ever getting a raise, without ever inheriting money, without a single lucky break. Just consistency and time. The problem isn't that people can't build wealth. The problem is they don't start. And they don't start because nobody taught them this. Schools taught you history. They taught you algebra. They taught you how to diagram a sentence. But nobody set you down and said, here's how money actually works. Here is how the wealthy think. Here is the game you're about to enter. And that gap is not an accident. A financially literate population is harder to sell things to, harder to keep in debt, harder to keep working for someone else's dream. The system needs consumers, not investors. And for decades, it got exactly what it needed. Until now. Here's what this all comes down to. The rules you were taught about money were not designed to make you wealthy. They were designed to make you stable, employable, predictable. And there's nothing wrong with stability. But stability and freedom are not the same thing. The middle class was sold a deal. Work hard, follow the rules, and you'll be okay. But okay is not the same as free. And most people don't realize that until it's too late. They wake up at 55, still trading time for money, still one paycheck away from panic, wondering where the years went. That doesn't have to be you. The information exists. The tools exist. The path exists. What's been missing is the decision to walk it. They weren't luckier than you. They were just taught different rules. And now you know those rules too. The question is, what are you going to do with them? Because the game hasn't changed, but you have. And that is where everything starts.